This is an overview of the Samsung N150 portable netbook. And here it is up close. The Samsung N150 was launched in July 2010, so it's been around for a little under a year now. It weighs 1.23 kilograms, which is slightly lighter than some of the other netbooks I've reviewed. As you can see, it's got a very nice matte finish to the surface, so it looks very stylish. And on the front here you've got some LED lights to tell you what's going on. That light there basically just means that the machine's in sleep mode. You have what looks like a catch to release the lid over here, but actually what that does is your on-off button, so you slide the button there to turn the machine on and off. You have two USB ports on the side as well as a VGA port, and you also have the place to lock your netbook to a desk if you wish. On the other side you have a power socket, Ethernet port, a third USB port, as well as microphone and headphone jack sockets on the far end. Opening up the N150, you can immediately see that it's an Intel Atom N450 processor, also typically runs Windows 7 Starter Edition. The trackpad here, now this is a bit smaller than some of the other netbooks that I've looked at, so it's worth bearing that in mind. It's a bit fiddly to use. The keyboard, however, I think is very good. It's a very nice keyboard, nicely spaced out keys. The keys themselves are slightly beveled, and I think it's quite a nice keyboard to type on. At the front here you've also got a little SD card slot. Now if we fire up the N150 we can see that it has a matte screen. I think matte screens are typically better than the glossy alternatives because typically you get less reflections. The N150 has a screen resolution of 1024 by 600. It typically comes with 1 GB of RAM and the hard disk size is 160 gigs. However, if you get the slightly newer version, which is the N150 Plus, that has a hard disk size of 250 gigs. In terms of battery life, the N150 has about 8 hours of battery life to it, but if you run, say, full screen video at maximum brightness and maximum volume, that will drop the battery life down to about 4 hours 55 minutes. Another thing to point out is at the top here you've got a small little webcam there at 0.3 megapixels in resolution. To compare the N150 with a couple of other netbooks, I've got a couple to show you here. At the top we've got the Toshiba NB305. Beneath that is the Acer Aspire One D255. And on the bottom is the Samsung that we've been talking about. Now if I place them all on top of each other, you can immediately see that they are the same size pretty much. The Toshiba's slightly bigger, but it's pretty negligible. They've all got the same ports as well, slightly arranged differently, but they've all essentially got the same functionality. Now there's a couple of subtle changes between the various netbooks, which I'll briefly point out. With the Toshiba here, the advantages of this one I'd say over the Samsung would be it's got a slightly bigger trackpad, which I think is easier to use. The buttons are also slightly bigger. The keyboard, however, is not as good in my opinion. I prefer the Samsung one. Sometimes I found that not all the keystrokes are registered when I type on this one, which I find a bit frustrating. Also the screen is glossy. So depending on what type of screen you prefer, but with a glossy screen you're going to get more reflections. With the Acer Aspire D255, it's a very nice netbook, this one. I think the keyboard is probably the best of the three. It's got a very nice keyboard, easy to type with. It's also a slightly higher spec machine, although in reality you're not really going to notice much difference when using it. But yes, the D255 is a very nice netbook. In terms of the Samsung, as I've already been showing you, the Samsung's probably better than the other two when it comes to sound. I think the sound out of this netbook is slightly louder, less tinny, so it's got a very good sound with this one here. In terms of price, the Samsung 150 can be purchased around about £200. The latest version, which is the N150 Plus, is about £250. If you were to buy this second-hand or refurbished, though, that would drop the price down to, I would say, between £150 to £200. Now with the Toshiba NB305, very similar in price, brand new £250, and then second hand round about £150. And finally the Acer D255. This one is slightly cheaper than the other two. You can pick this one up brand new for about £180, and then second hand and refurbished probably down to about £150 as well. So that's my overview of the Samsung N150 portable netbook. On the plus side, it's got an excellent screen. It's a matte screen, which means you're not going to get many reflections. The keyboard is also very good. The keys are very well spaced out. It's easy to type with. Sound is also excellent with this netbook. On the downsides, I would say that the trackpad is slightly on the small side. Also bear in mind that there is a slightly newer version, which is the Samsung N150 Plus. The only major difference with that one though is it's got a slightly bigger hard disk, so you might be able to find that the N150 you can find for slightly cheaper. There we go. I hope you've enjoyed this overview, and if you'd like to check out some more reviews you can go onto my YouTube channel, which is TechSaver UK. Thank you.